do you have something that actually moves the needle? If you can really convince yourself that's the case, the second question is, well, why on earth doesn't anyone recognize that? Right? And that's also my advice if you're considering making content, if you're considering doing DevRel, like make sure you're excited about the thing first, because once you are, the rest just becomes a whole lot easier.
I'm joined today by Vincent from Marimo. Marimo is a next generation Python notebook. And this episode is all about YouTube and how to grow your YouTube channel as a DevTool. Enjoy. Maybe before we get into what you've been doing on YouTube, you could just share with people a little bit about like the results like that you've had and how long you've been doing it and stuff like that, so that they get an idea.
Yeah. So, I think when we first spoke, I worked at Marimo for 6 months and we had 500,000 subscribers. Oh, sorry, not subscribers. Wait, views. Very different number. So we had 500,000 views in half a year. I'm now here at like month 7 and we just breached, I think, 650K. The way we kind of looked at it is it'd be nice to just have a good foothold on YouTube, simply because it's like the second biggest search engine out there these days. And 2, some people really prefer to read, like get the documentation, that's how they learn. And other people actually prefer video these days. So for a lot of reasons, we figured, okay, there's a lot of good reasons to like invest in YouTube. And the thing that really caused a lot of these views to happen is the Marimo team is quite small, but we make like 2 to 3 releases a week-ish. Like we really do make a lot of software releases. So there's not necessarily a shortage of little announcements that I can make during the week. That's like one of the things we really learned with these YouTube shorts. If you make like 5 demoable but really small changes, that actually does quite well on YouTube Shorts. So one of the reasons why we actually get so many views is mainly because we started doing YouTube Shorts. And every single YouTube short, I think like the minimum we get is like 2,000 views per video-ish. And, we have to be a little bit careful what a view is on YouTube. So if a video starts playing, that's already a view on a short. And if it starts replaying, like it starts at the beginning again, it gets counted twice. So there are like, be careful with interpreting the number there. Like number of views does not mean number of viewers. But even so, like you can also look at the stats and say, oh, there's like 40 to 50% of the views are from people who've never watched anything from our channel before. So we can also like, pretty legitimately claim that we do reach like thousands of people every week with just the shorts, basically.
Yeah. When you said features, like, could you give an example of like what one of the shorts might be?
Let me just go to our YouTube. Oh, actually, yeah, I know one of them. We support Python 3.14 right now. It's like a thing you can announce, and then you can show a feature of Python 3.14 and now works in a Marimo notebook. Download the latest version. Done. Another thing,
and would people be why would just like, if it's, because that would strike me as like that's something that like you guys care about, and if someone uses Marimo then they would care about, but like
so it's not, so that would not be a video that would do amazing on the new viewer metric. Like I would that would definitely be like a typical video of like, we have a 5,000 subscribers at this point. And let's say that those are more the hardcore Marimo users. So those users are particularly interested in learning about the new features. And like, that's why we make some of those shorts for.
Interesting.
Something that did very well, this one got like 17,000 views. It's a bit of a silly example, but I made a 2D slider this one time that works in Marimo. So for context, like Marimo is a Python notebook, but we have this very convenient mechanism to just add custom widgets. But I have this one video that's like kind of silly. It's like, hey, if you ever want to use a 2D slider inside of a Python notebook, now you can. Look, it's a 2D slider. It works. Great. Another thing I made a while ago is I have these gamepads. You can also use these gamepads via the Gamepad API in the browser to communicate with Python. So you can actually trigger Python functions with a gamepad now. It was just like one of these like weird little demos. Cool. And you can imagine that those things do really well also to new people. It's not necessarily enough for someone to download Marimo right now, right? But what we hope is that, of course, if you see one of those videos, you might not mind seeing video number 2. And after seeing 10 of these videos, at some point you do kind of go like, gee, these people release a lot of software and they have interesting features. I'm a Python person. I would like to give this a spin. But that's kind of what you hope for, of course. But it remains YouTube. So it's also not necessarily a science. It's also just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And it turns out that if you really release a lot of good software and you just make some videos of that, not every video is a slam dunk, but once a week, if you make like 5 to 7 videos a week, some of them do really seem to stick.
Scaling DevTools is sponsored by WorkOS. WorkOS helps you get enterprise ready. That means they give you all the things that you need to start working with enterprises. Things like audit trails, skim provisioning, role-based access control, and single sign-on. Let's hear from Utpal from Digger.dev, a dev tool using WorkOS.
We haven't had to think about auth at all. I think support is great. We have a Slack Connect channel with them. Issues, if any, there haven't been many, but anytime there have been issues, it's been addressed super quickly. So audit trail, SSO, stuff like that, we don't think about that anymore. Genuinely, we don't think about that anymore. And you don't necessarily think about these enterprise features, but they still lead to revenue. And it kind of is a no-brainer in that sense.
WorkOS helps your dev tool start selling to enterprises much faster. And they're trusted by dev tools like Cursor, Fal, and Vercel. If you use their user management auth, you can get your first 1 million monthly active users completely free.
Do you care about subscribers much? So what you're getting at here is also like a question I'm not really grappling with, but like, okay, we invest in YouTube, right? Like, what's the number? What number tells us we're doing good thing? Because we invest, we want to see number go up. And, we like it if we see subscribers because it's some sort of a proxy that a new person is more interested in Marimo than before. Like that feels good. We also have that view count number of like, okay, this video got a lot of views. And then in hindsight, can we also confirm that those were new people? Okay, then this video did good. In the end, though, like we have this questionnaire that pops up in a bunch of places, like when you join our Discord, or there's even like if you have feedback, we have a feedback form that people can leave us. The main thing that we just saw is that as time went on, we have this one question of, hey, how did you learn about Marimo? And some people just said one of Vincent's videos.
Really?
Apparently, some of them know me on a first name basis, which is weird. But like, and the fact that like it's not really quantitative, but the fact that on a gut level, it does feel like roughly 1 in 5 people that fill in such a questionnaire do mention that they discovered us via something on YouTube. I mean, that does give us the impression that we're doing something right. And like we do get more of the feedback from the, let's say, not necessarily hardcore, but like people that have been using Marimo for a few months, that they like the shorts because they also learn about the new features, and that's sort of their being updated feed. And other people, like the thing that we really do is we try to make sure, okay, if you're an Airflow user, let's say, like what can Marimo do for you? And then I hear some sounds from the Airflow community of like, oh, that's really sweet. I might want to give a talk about that at Airflow Conf. It's not called Airflow Conf, but to sort of paint the picture. And similarly, there's like Django people, and then they say, oh, we have a Django conference. I might want to talk at my meetup about this. There's like a little pattern I want to repeat. So we look at the stats, and every week we do a gut check, and that's like good to do. But the real impact it makes on me as a person is more just the qualitative aspect of it, like hearing stories of people discovering us via video. Like that's also stuff that feels meaningful, I would say.
Yeah. It's that seems like the thing to kind of like focus on, especially when you're getting started and you're getting like a kind of like there's growth there as well, right? Because I guess whatever you're getting now, if it's continuing to grow with the same inputs, then presumably, however many people are hearing about Marimo from YouTube now, like in 12 months, there's probably going to be a lot more with the same effort.
I have to be a little bit careful with the statistic because it does vary a little bit. But if I'm not mistaken, I think on average, the download numbers grow between 5 and 6% a week at this point. And we should do a check maybe if like that percentage was way lower before I joined. But I can at least claim that I think we did do a check, but we should redo the number. But something along those lines, like we are definitely in the growth up. But one thing that's also just really cool to see is it's not just me making YouTube videos about Marimo at this point. There's like other people, other like techie influencers that also like do a mention of Marimo here and there. But that's of course kind of what you do when you're doing DevRel. You try to spread good ideas and hopefully people replicate them. And we're right now in that like really interesting phase where we see the exponential sort of thing going up. People are asking questions about us more and more. There's like companies now writing blog posts about how they're transitioning to Marimo for their backend stack and stuff like that. We got like 4 blog posts. We just hired someone who's doing more growth stuff, like a little bit more formal marketing. So the blog is also getting like more attention now, but Yeah, it's really cool to see that with a small team you can still make a big oomph impact. But I think in the end, like I can make as many videos as I like. The real blessing is that we just have a really nice velocity schedule that just makes a lot of these things so much easier.
More stuff to talk about, and people are excited because it's getting
Basically,
better.
yeah, that really does help. But the one thing I will say, like when we started the YouTube thing, like we had a bit of a tactic where we said, well, okay, education might be the first thing to pay attention to, because there's all these things that like, because like if you're used to, because a lot of people compare us to Jupyter, that's like an alternative Python notebook. If you're used to Jupyter, then Marimo is new, and there's like a lot of Jupyter habits that people have to unlearn in order to really appreciate Marimo. So like the first month or two, maybe 3, most of our videos were really just education, like existing features, double down on that basically. And only after like 4 months or so did we give those shorts a spin, and oh boy, did we learn a lesson when we did.
Really? In hindsight, would you have done the educational ones?
I still think doing the educational ones is still a good idea. And you can also kind of notice that sometimes you have an educational video that hits a couple of nice keywords. So those will be videos that keep on getting traffic, because very often there's like a curve on YouTube for a long term. Like also shorts have that even more strongly. Like it goes up and then it becomes flat.
Just
usually
stops.
Yes. And like one thing I've learned from my private channel, so it's people who are watching like on display can see, I like these weird ergonomic keyboards, and I'm one of the few people online that reviews them. So if you type in the name of this weird keyboard, odds are you're going to see one of my videos on top. So review videos like this one, if you're the one guy reviewing them, they're going to get traffic like continuously. So the keyboard videos that I make, they typically just have a line straight up, and I just keep on getting views as time moves on. Some of the Marimo videos also have that if it's a very popular search term, because Marimo isn't like Marimo Python and then like very specific Marimo feature. That doesn't get a whole lot of traffic, but when you have 20 videos that each get like 50 views a day, that does start to trickle in. And a couple of our videos have that property where it's a straight line up. It's just most of them, they do flatten out after a bit. But the funny thing about those educational videos is they have a fairly high percentage, relatively speaking, of videos that do keep on attracting attention, because it's just a popular search term.
Do you look at search terms before you make videos, or is it like kind of chance?
I do think about the YouTube thumbnail and title, because you have to on YouTube these days, and you do your best to grab attention but not be too clickbaity, because there's too much of that already. You try to make a thumbnail that looks as if effort was put in but also doesn't overpromise to anything ridiculous, right? So to that extent, the main source of traffic on the short term, like when you just release a video, the SEO is only something that's going to help you long term. Like if the video's been out for a couple of months and if you have a popular search term, then you're going to get views on it. Everything in the first week, which is 90% of the view count normally, that's all YouTube algorithm recommender stuff, basically.
So you would focus far more on the algorithm side than the search side, typically?
So that is what I do nowadays. But I have like when I just joined Marimo, I mean, we got to video number 50 really quick. So like we really did a good sprint on like, okay, there's like all this video stuff missing and people keep on asking us all these questions. We just want to be able to send them a video real quick. Yeah. So I think in the first 2 months we had like 20 videos with like all the explainers that were missing. And that was our nice little backlog. And that allowed us to say like, okay, let's now do more topical things, more stuff that's like very popular library now. Let's see if we can make a video in Marimo for that. But it's so I wouldn't ignore good educational content. So that might be the thing I would still tackle first. It's just that once you've got the frequently asked questions covered, okay, then you got to do something else.
So it's almost like product. Like the first part is like product almost, that you just kind of an extension of your docs. So you just want to be able to send people.
Part of the story there was, okay, we get a lot of questions. It is on the docs, but people still somehow don't find it. Maybe if we have some videos, maybe less people will ask the question on the forum because it's also on YouTube, and maybe that's also a great way for people to learn about it. Of course, like after 2 months, those questions were pretty much answered. So then you try to move on to something else. We tried doing some topical things. That was it did work really well a couple of times. But since then, we've really just figured, well, for now, let's just pick some specific communities and figure out if we can offer something special. So Just to give a example, a video I made a while ago. I'm also a Django developer. Like I used to do a lot of Django back in the day. It's like a Python web framework. Django comes with an admin interface that's pretty nice. But there are just some of these moments where, I would love this admin interface to also have a slider. And it's really easy to build that in Marimo. It's just not something that's easy to configure with the Django admin interface. So, okay, I make a tutorial on how you can get Marimo integration to work with Django. And then some of the Django people can maybe take inspiration from it. And that's like kind of like trying to get a nerd snipe to a specific community working. That's like a way you could describe the tactic. But that turns out to work very well because then the people within the Django community, some of them really like it. They start giving us feedback. And then I try to repeat that, but then maybe for the Airflow community. And it's definitely a different way to maybe approach growth. But it's something that I'm able to do because we have all those frequently asked questions already sort of done, basically. So the framework we've got now is we try to do like one main video every week where we try to like do good education for a specific community. On top of that, we do all sorts of YouTube shorts. And if a quick topic appears that we feel we got to jump on because it's a new, I don't know, LLM thing that we have a specific opinion about, then we also try to allow some space for that. But I also still write a little bit of software. So it's not all just YouTube videos, but that's the main way we approach YouTube, at least.
Yeah. So could you maybe like dig in a little bit more to like, let's say like either last week's videos or next week's videos? How did you decide specifically to pick the topics? Just because I don't know if I'm over-indexing on this, but I feel like kind of picking topics is quite a hard thing to do on videos.
I never really had that problem, but maybe like a thing that also helps a bit. Like if you've seen one of my videos, you know what I'm talking about. But when I make a video, nothing is scripted. Only the intro is scripted. Everything else is just me live coding. And the reason why that works so well is because I have a drawing tablet. So I have a pen and like a drawing. The cheapest drawing tablet I was able to buy on like Dutch Amazon. It's $40. It's a Julian tablet. It is a really good device. Like I do recommend it to people. But there's an app on Mac called ScreenBrush, and I just hit a shortcut, and then I'm able to draw over any code that I've got on display. So a lot of it is me like, okay, writing something in a notebook, and okay, this kind of works now. Okay, go into record mode, look into the camera. Okay, I just coded this. This is what this does. Arrow. This is what this does. So it's a lot of it is really just okay. I pick a topic, and then I of course make sure the code kind of works beforehand. But everything else from there is just me live coding.
Interesting. So yes, because I feel like a lot of the time people go and write a tutorial, or they'll go build like an example app, maybe like build an example app, then write the tutorial on how they built that, and then go record it as like a secondary thing. I mean, I know everyone has their different methods, but
I will do my prep, but I guess you're talking about like maybe JavaScript people, I suppose, that sort of build a web app and like do some sort of API integration.
Yeah,
so
it's not like,
So you can imagine that for a Python person, I mean, I can integrate something in a notebook, but typically a thing you do more in a Python notebook is like analytics. So I could find maybe a fun data set if somehow I'm exposed to a fun data set on socials, then that could lead as an inspiration to like maybe make a fun video about it. But in my case, it's a lot easier to just sort of say, well, what tools exist in the ecosystem? And, everyone uses a Jupyter notebook if they're doing anything with data in Python. So there's so much like land for me to just pitch a tent and do something. Like one thing that might be good to mention here is like the Jupyter notebook in the end is not a Python file. So it's this different file format. The Git story is like really, really different. And it's kind of meant to be a multilingual thing, which is also why the Python integration is not really direct. Marimo in the end is a notebook, but it's also still a Python file. So suddenly we have a Python thing that is a notebook, but it's definitely still a Python file, which means that you can rethink the way a notebook is supposed to work. So suddenly, if you're a senior like Django dev, maybe now I can use a notebook because, it's just a Python file now. That's no longer weird in CI. We can maybe consider that. So basically, it's almost, to me, it feels like every single package out there in Python, I can make a story around. It's surprisingly easy given the topic.
And you'll have an interesting take on it because people are seeing it in a notebook rather than
it's more than that.
That's more than that.
to me personally, at least, and like the best way to explain this is like the Basecamp people had a quote about this a while ago. Like marketing is basically the exchange of enthusiasm. Like I've been using notebooks for my entire professional career, and I was like super excited when I saw Marimo. So it's also the thing that I'm like just genuinely excited about this whole I can rethink the way I write notebooks aspect of it. I honestly write command line apps in notebooks now, and there's good reasons to consider it. So like it really does help that I'm genuinely excited about it, and I'm also genuinely making all these widgets to see if they can work. So that's also my advice if you're considering making content, if you're considering doing DevRel, like make sure you're excited about the thing first, because once you are, the rest just becomes a whole lot easier.
I think Swyx wrote an article about this recently, or like it was in DX
Swyx writes a
Test.
lot of articles. It's my impression.
He's a machine.
But he's writing about maybe DevRel is back, and then
yes, exactly.
Yes. And on the front, I think I saw the same article. There was also this idea of like you don't, as a company, you shouldn't look for a DevRel. You should look for your DevRel. You need to find someone who's like technical and like can do the explaining thing, but is also like super excited. Like if that ingredient is missing, it's not gonna work out, I fear.
Yeah, and I think the distinction there was like don't hire someone that's passionate about Python. Hire someone that's passionate about writing Python in notebooks, or like
or whatever the company is doing. Just make sure that like the company is doing something someone is genuinely excited about. And I did kind of a test. That's usually what I do when I see a new tool. Like if I expose myself to a tool and then like a week later I find myself making plugins for it, that's usually a sign. and with Marimo, I ended up making like 3 plugins in the first month, all of which were pretty substantial too, that made it to like their gallery. So that was like my sign of like, okay, Vincent, something is happening here. You should take this maybe serious.
I do think there is a lot about that of like, just lean into what you're interested in. And I don't know. I mean, that's the only reason Scaling DevTool still exists, I think, is just because if you're interested in it, you'd probably be doing similar things if whether or not you were being paid to
I like the idea of like you should probably, if you want to learn, you got to expose yourself to new things, but you should also pay attention if you then feel some sort of an attraction. Like, oh, this is a cool thing. I want to keep doing it. Like, okay, listen to that voice and then just chase it. I've also it's a weird thing to admit, but like I've never gone through a normal recruitment pipeline in my life. Like I've always been hired because of my blog or some video I made, and like that's always been the way I've gotten hired in like every professional capacity so far.
Yeah, I mean, it is not surprising. I feel like DevRel maybe is like kind of more like that because it is quite public as well.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, your resume is public, basically. So it's kind of like, oh, what have you done, Vincent? Well, these are 3 companies I worked at. These are 3 YouTube channels that you can see how I've developed there. They're definitely better now. Those are things that you can just say by just pointing to a few things that are public.
Yeah. How are your videos different now than they were 6 months ago?
So I started making videos professionally, I suppose, during COVID. And the interesting thing during COVID was there was a lot of demand and not a lot of supply yet. So if you just started during COVID and your videos were just kind of okay, as in reasonable video and audio quality, and you were explaining something quite clearly, it was pretty easy to get a lot of views. These days, though, it almost feels the other way around. Like it feels like there's actually too much supply and not enough demand for the supply. Like I don't think we've got enough eyeballs on the planet to supply every video that is produced with like 1,000 views. I just think we're not going to be able to get there anymore. It's hard for me to give advice on this because like one thing that I've done most of my career, I've always had a blog. I've always done tech talks, and these were usually really well received. So I've accumulated a bit of a reputation. And because of that, it's also easy for me to like have some followers, quote unquote, sort of cling on to me. And when I do a new thing, they're just usually quite interested. So I think the first video I made a week after, we were already like between 500 and 1,000 subscribers or something like that, which is, I've been told, relatively rare for a new YouTube channel. Like usually it takes a while to get to your first.
That's great.
But yeah, for us, it was like relatively easy. Also because Marimo was like gaining steam, but also because, a lot of people that follow me for my past work were also just interested in it. Eventually though, you do wake up and you do kind of go, oh, the video style that I had before, like without my face in it, okay, you can still do that, but you're gonna want to do a whole lot of editing. Like watch a popular YouTube video and just put it on mute and just pay attention to how many scene cuts there are, how often like a pop-up appears, and oh my, like if you really want to be high up there, then it does become a lot of the editing game. And okay, like I do prefer to be able to do all of that stuff myself without too much crazy editing. So, okay, I will make sure that I've got like a really solid introduction, a good thumbnail, and like do all of those basics. But from there on, what I just really try to do is just make sure the editing is minimal for myself. I also program my keyboard for video editing. We've mentioned that in the pre-call before as well. And everything else is just, okay, am I still excited about it? Because if I'm excited about it and if I'm able to sort of be proud of a video I made in terms of like information density, do people actually learn from this? Then that is a game that I can keep on playing for like years, is also the impression. Because you don't want to be a person who has to like spend 4 days editing a video and only gets gratification from like having views, because some of that's just super stochastic, right? So my main thing is like, okay, just make sure we've got the velocity, make sure we've got like a good video every week, make sure every video has like a good lesson in it. And if we don't get 10,000 views in every video, that's also just kind of fine. 6% growth a week, if we can just maintain that, that's also just solid.
Yeah, that's very sensible way to do it. So just focusing on enjoying it, doing a process.
I'm focusing on the marathon. That's kind of another way of putting it. Like if you have every video be a sprint, part of me is also wondering, well, you need to do it for years, typically. Well, as a team, we also kind of get together like, hey, this quarter, what's like the thing we want to really get at? The first quarter was like education. Second quarter was like experimentation. And now we're sort of doing specific community outreach, basically. I'm sure we're going to pivot a few times as well. But for YouTube, my impression is that consistency is one element that really matters a lot, though. So like if you are in a position to really make like one long form video every week and like a bunch of shorts, YouTube does reward consistency, is my impression.
Yeah.
Another fun game you can play is just the game of, can you predict how many views a video will get? And it's just sort of as a mental exercise, because you also have to keep your eyes a bit open in terms of like, okay, am I missing out on something that could work well on YouTube? And like, okay, if this video didn't get that many views, why might that be? And also do the thumbnail A/B testing and like experiment a little bit. But still, with all that in mind, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, that's actually really good. I think I might try that. Trying to predict like what it's going to get, because then you kind of will know, I guess. Okay, so I think this will get a lot, and which means X, and because this, like, if it's for me, it's like because this person's famous, or because this is a controversial take, and then you realize like that didn't do well. Okay, well, my hypothesis maybe is not true.
And then you have to answer the question like, why might that be? I've actually noticed on my personal channel, I'm now in the A/B group, so I'm able to not just A/B test the thumbnail but also the title.
Really?
So that is something that they are going to release onto the world at some point soon. So like, I imagine way more clickbaity titles on the short term, and with that in mind, not on my channel, because YouTube in general. But yeah, it's a lot of it is about expectations. Like, can you ground yourself? Can you come up with a theory of how YouTube sort of works? That's a good sort of thought exercise, I would say.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Do you have any, like, if you had to give one piece of advice to founders who are starting YouTube channels, DevTools founders, of course?
In the end, it still all comes down to excitement, if I'm really honest. And like, can you sort of expose your excitements in a way that like there's an exchange such that other people are like also eager to listen to it? I was talking to like the founder of Marimo the other day, and he did, like, we were sort of talking about like what's hard about making a software business, or like a DevTools business. Like what's the hard part about it? Because there's this meme of like first-time founders worry about implementation, and then second-time founders worry about like distribution. And we did agree that like distribution is a hard part of the puzzle. Like that doesn't happen automatically. You can't say, let's build it and they will come. It's not the way the world works anymore. But in the end, like, the hard part is also, do you have something that actually moves the needle? That's maybe also like a way to think about it. It's not so much about solving the problem, but like, do you actually have something that really can make someone's like professional life a whole lot better? And if you can really convince yourself that's the case, the second question is, well, why on earth doesn't anyone recognize that? Right? But you do need that first bit. Like, you do need to really convince yourself that what you've got is actually like a great thing. And then you can sort of push your excitement and then sort of, so you need one before you can actually do the other. So I think promotional activities is the exchange of enthusiasm, but before you can be excited about something, you do need something of value.
Which I guess solving a problem that is actually burning rather than just like something that really matters rather than something that's, oh, that's kind of cool.
And also again, and a good just check is just again the excitement thing. Like if you find that it's hard for you to get excited about something, it's probably because it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah. Okay, Vincent, that was very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Do you have any shout outs that you want to give?
I guess there's a few. So one of them is actually surprisingly still Reddit. So for all of its like, there's awkward Reddit subreddits and stuff, but like one subreddit that I'm a fan of is again the ergonomic keyboard subreddit. And I do think it's really cool to see that there's still places where communities can kind of thrive and where communities also sort of protect themselves. So if you try to post marketing-y stuff in the ergonomic keyboard channel, you're just going to get revoked instantly. And like a lot of these little Reddit channels still kind of do that. And the reason that I mention it is that sometimes I'm able to share a video on a subreddit that has like very strong moderation on it, but they still accept the video because it's relevant to their community. And one, like a lot of marketeers kind of like to complain about Reddit, like, oh, it's so hard to get something accepted. In a way, that's true, but consider that a good thing and also consider it a point of pride if your thing does get through, because it means you're doing stuff that's relevant to a community out there. So don't sleep on Reddit is like a thing I would maybe also say. Be picky in which subreddits you pick, basically. But especially the smaller communities do tend to be more active these days on Reddit too. So that's like a thing maybe people should recognize. And also, I love me a good blog. It feels like people are doing more slop stuff on blogs. I really like the fact that we still actually write them by hand. So to any DevRel people or like founder people, say it like you mean it. Don't do the slop thing. People can tell.
Yeah, true. We just did an episode with Ben from Planet Scale, and it was like which is kind of the antidote to slop. I don't know if you've seen.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Post.
Yeah. No, they're great. But you can tell. But again, like, oh, these people care, and then their excitement is the thing that matters, and that's it's hard for me to share our Slack communication, but it's also nice that like at the company right now, like we all care about the quality of Marimo, and one of the things I also do is just if you're the DevRel person, you're typically also trying to look for experimental excuses to use the software in ways that aren't necessarily meant to be used. And there is something about being a core developer where you always kind of stick between the lines sometimes because you want this thing to sort of work in a stable way. But I guess that's like another bit of advice. Like if you're a DevRel person, you can listen to the community and you can give that you can forward that feedback to the engineering crew. You can also come up with the craziest demos yourself and see if you can break your own software. And then reflecting on that is something that engineers actually also just kind of appreciate. You can also be a source of like experiments that your engineers typically don't have the time for. So that's also something I might recommend doing.
That's really cool.
And, and buy ergonomic keyboards because they're way better for your wrists. But yeah, on that, end of speech on that front.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And where can people learn about Marimo?
Marimo.io or the web, I think Marimo _IO on YouTube, I think. But yeah, if you type Marimo, it's also like a Japanese moss ball. If you type Marimo and then Python, you will find the
Japanese what?
Yeah, so it's I actually have some in the back
moss
over
ball.
here. So yeah, so a Marimo is actually a moss. It's a species of moss that if you clump them together just the right way, it forms a ball and it survives underwater. And kind of the cute metaphor here is that like all these individual pieces of moss, the sum is actually greater than all these individual parts. So Marimo is named after a moss ball, and it's also like it's a great name because it sounds like a Pokemon, so it could be a tech thing. It abbreviates very well. The domain name was available. That's like all good reasons for like an amazing name. But
I thought it would be something to do with sailing, like.
No, it's a
Mara
well, it is a water
and-
it is a water-based moss ball,
Yeah.
like it's submerged and all that. But no,
Yeah.
it's a Python library, but it's also a moss ball. It's a
Super
fun little
It's a great
anecdote. But yeah, Marimo.io. You can find us on YouTube. We also have a Discord channel. Feel free to hook us up there, and ask me anything if you find me.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Vincent, and thanks everyone for listening.